Hey everyone, in this episode we'll be taking a look at the movie The Intruder. We'll be taking a look at the believability of the premise and the character actions in the story. This is episode 142 of the Reel-ists podcast. Hey listeners, I'm Oscar.
And I'm Donnie.
And we have a producer here as well, Ruben.
Hello.
Hello, he says. And welcome to the Reel-ists podcast. I don't know. I was going for something at first, and then I was just like, let me just fall.
The Reel-ists podcast.
There you go. I like that. We'll replay that from moving forward. So, yes, this episode is going to be on The Intruder, so hopefully you had a chance to see it. We know
Lock your doors. Look out your windows.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure there's no one out there.
It wasn't even that. It wasn't that kind of intruder. But yeah, so we're going to do a spoiler review. So if you had the opportunity to see it, we hope you enjoy this discussion and review. If you have not, you know what to do. It's routine by now. Unless you just love listening to us, then keep listening. We ain't going to judge. And so, yes, with that being said, we do want to just make sure that if you have the opportunity to and you listen to us through YouTube or through iTunes or Apple Podcast, please go ahead and review and comment for us. Give us some feedback on what you like, what you didn't like, some pros, some cons. And so we'd love to get the feedback to improve, right? That's
Of
what we try
course,
for.
always. It's always
Right?
what we're
not giving
to
you
do.
a 5-minute survey. We're not asking you to just let us know what zip code you're in, the area for.
No, we don't need any of that.
We just need that direct feedback. That's all we ask. So yes, and then I think we're going to go ahead and go into this discussion here. So Donnie, hit us with your quick thoughts of The Intruder.
The Intruder, it was a fun film, I will say. I definitely had a negative attitude going into it because I'm like, this is going to be super predictable and super just cheesy, and I wasn't a fan of the whole, them using that sleepwalk song as like and kind of making it into a creepy thing for the trailer because I really do like that song. So I was a little offended, a little bitter from that, but it was a fun little ride. It's a straightforward premise. This couple who want to buy a home in the Napa Valley, and they buy it from this guy who's pretty much psycho. So, I feel like they all did. I like all those actors. Michael Ealy was in it. Megan Good was in it. Dennis Quaid, who I've
doing my job.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Dang, sorry. I apologize. But
Keep going.
but I did like the movie. It was predictable at times, but it also was fun just to see Dennis Quaid kind of unravel a bit and see him just be just creepy and a weirdo and just kind of watching his performance just kind of simmer throughout the whole film until it kind of just starts to boil over in the third act, and then it's like this fight for your life kind of thing. So it was fun, and that's all I'll say for now.
Okay. But yes, as Donnie has perfectly stated about the premise, it is practically just what it is, straight up. A couple buys a home. Homeowner is not so willing to give it up, despite giving it up.
Right.
Doesn't make sense. But refuses to let go of the property. But yes, stars Dennis Quaid, Megan Good, Michael Ealy, and then I think those are the main, and then the other ones are just supporting to very minor roles. Directed by Deon Taylor. So that's our movie here, and I think I'm very on par with what you're saying. And the thing. So let me kind of just clarify. For myself, to me, like, the horror movie isn't so much on what scares me, like a jump scare and that kind of stuff, because by that, every movie's a perfect scary movie because they scare me with the jump scares.
Doesn't take much, right?
Right. So to me, it's more so on what's the story and is there a way that I can believe this can happen? I think that's, to me, is what really gets the good horror, juice out of me. Like, that's what really was that's what I walk away with, like, that was a good horror film. So this one in particular, the premise sounds very, very possible to anyone, right? You buy a home from someone and they're not leaving. So the one thing that I think it lost me with is just the natural responses to the situation. I think that's kind of where I would understand if like, and maybe I was thinking a little big here, but I was thinking there was just going to be some kind of big twist, or it's going to be some kind of like, they got us, like we thought it was, you know, the couple was in control, but turns out they were just a pawn or something to the extreme. But it really was just someone that was dark, that it was psycho and really didn't care for anything but like his own personal pleasure. So that's why it was kind of, you know, this wasn't working for me. But yeah, I really wanted something big. I was, you know, telling you, I was like, she's gonna fall in love with him and she's gonna leave him. I was thinking like a Twilight Zone kind of horror.
And then when you said that, I started thinking maybe this was like, maybe they were playing him the whole time, like Michael Ealy. Maybe she had been on it, like
because she was really wanting it.
Yeah. So you kind of stuck that idea in my head for a split second. But.
So I really thought that, but there was really, it was just like there are decisions on how to take care of the situation. Just at first, the first two, I would say, visits, I think I could understand. I think you wouldn't want to jump to conclusions or, you know, make that drastic reaction of, I'm calling the cops. But they never called the cops in this movie.
No.
So,
which is crazy to me. And it's like, this movie, it was kind of crazy because, okay, he kept coming around, right? So like you were saying, yes, naturally, like after you told someone to stay away, like I would, if I see you again on my property, I'm calling the police, like fair and square, like without hesitation. And then the crazy thing is that the wife, Megan Good or Annie, which can I just say they had like the widest names, Annie and Scott.
Yeah, they did.
Names. But she was so nice and so open-hearted and felt so bad for him. But it's like, at the end of the day, too, it's like, how is, I get that you have a beautiful heart, Annie, and you're trying to be this sweet, nice girl from Indiana, but like, you gotta know at some point, you gotta realize that this dude is obviously, he's like, something's wrong with him, because a normal person wouldn't keep coming around like this and keep saying, oh, I'm gonna move to Florida, and then something happens, it keeps getting pushed back. Like, I don't understand how Annie didn't at some point go, like, think that his behavior was strange or erratic. That's what confused me, because I'm like, in real life, any other person, like if this person kept repeatedly coming on your property, and if you're, and especially too, like I feel like if your husband is really bothered by this too, and I know they were trying to like put that they had some like conflict, you know, amongst themselves, like between them, like there was something that happened, you know, in
personal
the past,
drama
personal
before
drama.
the movie started.
But it's like, I feel like if your partner too is like, babe, I don't want him coming around, like this is not normal behavior, I feel like you should at some point listen and be like, maybe you're right, or at least respect the fact that like you're sharing this home with someone that you love. So if he's uncomfortable with this guy that keeps coming around, which rightfully he has, it's not like that's so outlandish, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like she should be like, you know what, babe, like I think you're right, you know, this is like the 5th time he's popped up, maybe, you know, we should do something or have a talk with him or something. But it was never like that until it was too late for Annie, you know? Like
almost,
Annie, pretty much, yeah. So
that's the thing that to me was like, it was those decisions. I understand if the circumstance was like the phone line was cut off, they can't call the cops, then I can be like, all right, I'll play with it. But to this one, it was just a lot of, how is this okay with you? And I understand there's a few things at play here, and I know they try to be subtle with it, but the history that he has a long history with this place, I get it, but you sold it, and I know that there was that secret of, oh, because he was in financial trouble and he had to pay everyone back, but it was just like, based off of how it works, once you sell it, it's no longer yours. And then like the way he would just come back and mow the lawn. And she even says, she was like, did you just get that out of the shed? And he was like, yes. And I'm like, so you didn't give us,
so you went in my shed? Like
you didn't give us all the keys? You didn't what, like I would have been like,
you
so
can't do that.
That means you have, even the whole like security cameras being placed and him flipping out saying, you know, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And yes, I believe that Scott was in the rights of all his reactions. I think at first it was just like, okay, this is weird. Like, aren't you leaving? But then it became, you need to leave. And so became frustrating when it was just like, she kept thinking positive and was thinking, how can I be kind back? And this person has a history with this place. But yeah, there was just a lot of decisions that were very hard to let go as the movie progressed. And so when it gets to the third act, at this point, you're just like, I know at this point it's going to be, survival, and you're just trying to live and not get killed by him. But at this point, I don't even believe that they're really going to be out of the situation. I feel like at this point, they were just like, they're not going to kill him. They're just going to walk away and leave him injured, and he's going to come back. Or I really thought that they were going to leave it at a very bad decision on how to end it. But yeah, so luckily they kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some positives to that. And then the other one that I wanted to point out was the predictability. And you knew the friend who was like causing some irritation with Dennis Quaid's character.
Wasn't his name Donnie? Or am I making that up?
I think you're making that up.
I'm narcissistic, am
I? His name was Mike.
All right, well, but I had to give it a shot.
It would be actually hilarious if like every movie you said that one.
Was it his character? Isn't his name Donnie?
But yeah, so like you knew he was gonna die. Like that was just a predictability of a horror. In horror movies, someone has to die. 9 times out of 10, when it's a best friend or someone really close to these people, they die. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, just set it up. Just go ahead and kill him. And they actually took a while to kill him. I thought he was going to die sooner.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, that guy, the Mike. Mm-hmm. He, I was trying to figure out where I knew him from. I've seen him in the show Power. That's I was like, he looks so familiar. But also, I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. But also, he was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy. I don't know what episode. But I will figure it out. I'll get back to you.
But yeah, so that was something that was irritating, was just like a lot of predictability. Like the whole arc of this guy's gonna get worse and worse, you expected, and I think that's probably why I wanted some kind of like twist to it, where you were supposed to pay attention closely, and you would realize that the couple wasn't in, they thought they were in control, but they weren't. And this movie has a lot of missed opportunities, I think, also in addition to a predictability, and I think that's what hurt this movie. What works really though is just the premise of what would you do in that situation. I think that's what everyone went to go see this movie starting as, unless you're supporting one of the actors that you like. I think the draw is, what would I do if I was given this nice home that's all these like nice things, but I have that neighbor or not neighbor in this case, but I have that one person that keeps coming back.
Mm-hmm. This is him in Grey's Anatomy, by the way.
Wow.
So basically, it looks like he's pregnant. That's what he went into the hospital as. He was like, I'm pregnant. He's like, I'm a man, but I'm pregnant. My belly's growing. So they were like trying to figure out what happened. Basically, I think he was a twin, and the twin got absorbed into his abdomen during the stages of development somehow.
I didn't show up until he was an adult.
Something like that. Anyways, unrelated to this movie, I apologize. Continue.
You were really on a mission.
I was really trying to figure it out.
But yeah, so that's one of the things that I felt harmed this movie. And what worked was just the premise. I think the premise was very interesting, and I think that's the kind of thing with horror films, is the premise is a very great hook. And half the times that you go see a horror movie, it's because you really finding the premise interesting, and it's just a matter of how do they deliver it. A lot of times it goes into the common, things that you expect in horror films, and when a person dies, and when you think they're going to get away, but the person that is a killer is not dead, and all those kinds of twists and turns. So the big shock here in this movie was that Charlie, the character, Dennis Quaid's character, was living under the house.
Yeah.
That was
like a whole bunker set up under there. Like that's why he was around all the time. He was living there still.
Yeah, that was a big twist. And to me, I mean, they didn't give any signs that indicated that he was living underground, so it kind of was a surprise. But it just wasn't the kind of delivery that I think the movie could have had. I think they could have had more shocking twists and turns. So
yeah,
a lot of things that just failed, at least in my opinion. I don't know about if you think the same way about that, Donnie.
It definitely was not. There wasn't anything that was that came from left field that we were like, oh my god, did you just see that? Oh my, like I wasn't surprised by what happened. We knew that this guy was mentally, psychologically unstable from the get go. The trailer portrays that pretty accurately. We know that Michael Ealy is. Very uncomfortable with this guy around his home. We see that in the trailer. We know that Annie is a super nice lady and she's welcoming him with open arms. We see that in the trailer. A lot of it we got. So it's like, and we're just kind of waiting for this thing to unfold and play out and to see how it ends, because in the trailer we see at some point him capturing Annie and knocks her unconscious, and there's this fight to survive, this fight to this struggle that happens. So we expect it, we know it's coming, we just don't know the details of it. But like you said, him living under in the house, under the house or whatever, it wasn't the most shocking twist of 2019, but it was pretty. I wasn't expecting that. I thought maybe he just kept hanging around, or he was maybe parked his car and on the land somewhere or something. But to know that he has been in the house, and that would explain like a lot of the scenes where, like that one scene where he thought he heard somebody, and then they end up like they're making love downstairs in the living room, but he's in the house and he's watching them, and we're like, how did he get in the house? That explains it, so it's like it makes sense in retrospect, and it's not something that's super crazy out of left field. Like I never saw it coming,
right?
And I'm glad it. Never mind. I'll wait for you to get there. If we're talking about the ending, just how it ended.
Yeah, we'll get there for sure. On the positives, I think what worked for this movie was the performances by the actors. I think they did deliver these characters that worked. You did fear Charlie for who he is, in the think of if he was like around, you probably would be like, help, get away from me, all those common reactions you probably would get from someone you're scared of. Mm-hmm. And then you have Scott and Annie, right?
Annie, yeah.
Yes, you have Scott and Annie, who I actually believe them as a couple. I think they worked well, and yes, she was the optimism and he was the more realist, but I think it still naturally worked where I felt that they did have a history in this prior to this movie beginning. Like I didn't feel like these were two actors who just put together and they're starting right as the movie starts, and they try to kind of cover like there's some troubles that they've had encountered. I think that maybe was like the one thing that was kind of more of, I didn't sense it. Like I didn't feel like Scott would do that to his wife. He always seemed very loyal to be like he cheated once. That was a surprise. I was like, wow. Mm-hmm. You would think a guy from a movie, but there's more to the character than the movie tells you. So, but yeah, most of the part it works. The characters themselves individually from the main cast, I think, deliver the movie, and that's what helps keep this movie entertaining. And it manages to pull your interest in how it plays out. Because I think if they were giving very static, bland performances, I think a lot of people would have checked out by this movie.
Yeah. I think it was really important for the film that they did have two people that it did seem like a fluid, natural relationship, and that there was I was gonna say charisma. Charisma is important too, but that there was chemistry on set between the two, and I really did feel like that. Even in the scenes where, like, even in the subtle things, when they were coming home from the eating out, and it appeared that he was flirting with that girl behind the counter, and you could she was bothered by it, and he was like, "Come on," it was a quick little exchange, but even that, it just seemed natural. Like that's how a couple would naturally, that's how a wife would probably naturally just address the husband's flirting ways back at the restaurant or something. So
I mean, just like this recently this week, not to try to compare it, but like Aisha Curry, Stephen Curry's wife, had that kind of comment about like she doesn't like that groupies, like things kind of like always trying to go to the star. I mean, he's obviously he's the NBA star, so but yeah, she just made that comment. So I'm sure they probably had talk about that like when they get home. And
did you not to talk about this, but did you also hear her comment about like she was like she feels like she doesn't get attention from guys? Did you hear about that?
I did not know.
She was okay. We'll talk about that later because that's something not related.
Tune into our other podcast.
Yeah, I know. For the latest gossip.
Hot tea.
The realist tea.
The realistic.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean that just to kind of go off of that is a common thing in relationships where they I'm sure most relationships have that one talk where it's just like, I don't like when you do this to the other, other people that like you, or you don't see when they're flirting with you, where you're clearly flirting with them, blah blah. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure it's happened for most, maybe not all. Maybe there's a few couples that they just know. I don't know. Let us know, listeners.
Yeah, you tell us.
But yeah, so to the ending though. This ending, very common, like thrill horror. It's you literally can put any horror figure, like if you take like Freddy, Jason, Chucky, Scream, any horror like figure that you imagine, and put him in this role with where Charlie was at, it's the same. It's the same. Like you think you won. Oh no, he fought back. Oh, you think you're safe. Oh no, trap. And so it was just a lot of that kind of beat by beat. I even the way that they delivered the ending of, let me call the cops. My husband just murdered, an intruder, and then boom, shoots the intruder,
and then credits.
Yeah, that was very sad.
It was. I don't. Sometimes an abrupt ending is fine. Like sometimes it works, but I needed to know what happened. Like I needed to know, did he die? Did they just like shoot him, but he's still living and now he's arrested and he's spending life in prison? Like, give me something, But I don't feel like
I think the intention
ending
was that they killed him.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. But it's like, let me see that you guys are okay. Let me see that you guys have this life. I even wanted to. I was hoping that we could like even fast forward like 2 years or something to show us that they did have like a kid or two, and that they did fulfill this kind of fantasy that they both fantasy, but this dream that they both wanted, and maybe something along the lines of like, oh, this is the 3rd year anniversary of what we went through, or I don't know, something. I don't know, just like give me more. I wanted more, and I feel like they just were like.
The premise was met.
Yeah. So true. They did the bare minimum.
The intruder came, got killed, and that's the end of the story.
That's all you need to know.
If you want a summary of the movie, that's the best way to put it. So there was an intruder. They come. They gets killed. The end. Yeah. Now go to bed. Like that was.
Yeah. Now get out of here.
So, the ending was a little unsatisfying to the way it was built up. It's just a lot of it. And I think at first when they were alone, like when it was just Annie and him, there was some fear that maybe Annie dies. But I think as soon as Scott came back, I was like, they're either both dying or neither of them are dying. I don't think one of them was going to die. I just...
Right.
Because then that would... If they would have gone that route, then yes, they would have had to show an aftermath of what happens.
Most likely. Suck if they both died. Can you imagine?
That's why I would have thought it was a twist where they were the pawns. I'm just saying, if it would have gone that, I would have been more happy.
Been happy.
I would have been slightly, just obviously because I think they would have worked with the story in that from the beginning. I think the one thing, like the way she was convinced that he was crazy was when she was just like, "How did he know I was in the hospital?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, at that point, I would have been like, "I think I told him." Like, I felt like she was just. It was just a quick turn. It was just like, "Oh, you're right. I believe you."
Speaking of quick turn too, even at the kind of towards the end when she was home by herself, didn't it go from day to night like hella quick? Let me just say, like what? Like she ran up like it was like in an instant. Like it was daytime, and then she went like down to that little tunnel thing into his bunker, and then she looked outside, and then it was like night, like sun was setting, and then she runs back upstairs, goes downstairs, and then it's night. Like. I'm like, come on. The sun doesn't set that fast.
It wasn't like the sun was setting. It was like...
It wasn't. It was like midday. It was probably still like to 3 p.m. So how do we jump from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. in an instant?
We caught
another
that
thing
one.
I want to point out is that he did work in San Francisco, and they lived in the Napa Valley. Now, let me tell you, that is a hell of a commute, I will say. And for him to be doing that every day is insane. But the part that cracked me up was when his homeboy was visiting, or he was talking to his homeboy. He was like, "Hey, on your way back to the city, can you stop by my place and check on Annie?" Like, it's just like right there. I'm like, I'd have been like, what you're asking me to do is like an extra hour out of my way. Like,
I'm assuming. Assumption that it was out of
this isn't just like a little like,
right.
oh, just on the way to the city, stop by the Napa Valley on the way to the city.
Maybe this guy lived in Sonoma and lived a little bit.
Ah, man. I don't know. But
I mean, first of all, the drive. I think the drive is what
the commute itself. I'm like,
literally
if you're commuting by car, I mean, I don't know. But I mean, my
obviously,
brother-in-law commuted from Benicia to San Francisco, and it was a 2-hour commute both ways.
Yeah.
So to get from and that was taking the ferry. So,
but just imagine. I mean, obviously, they bought a 3.3 million home.
Yeah.
So I don't think them thinking about gas was too much of an issue.
I guess not. But I'm just like, that's if I was living in the Napa Valley. I mean, I don't know. Why work in the city? Like, I don't know. I mean, I know he's in advertising, but it's like
you don't have to. You can stay on that side, right, where the Redwood Creek is. You don't have to go to like the 5, right? Not the 5, the 80.
Like, you mean like take the back way?
Right. Because I'm thinking,
like taking 37, like the 37.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go that way. But I mean, that gets backed up too, and it's such a narrow highway. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking way too into it. They're like, if you guys live in the Bay Area, just dismiss this whole like proximity thing. I should have been a
disclaimer before. For those that live in the Bay Area, don't pay attention to
pay attention to the fact that
the open roads.
Lives in Napa and he's commuting to SF. I mean, people do it, so
people do
not impossible.
But it's not as 10-minute drive from.
Hopefully he could like maybe work from home a couple days or something. Like maybe he didn't have to go to the city every day. It didn't. It seemed like he had to go. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. It was pretty funny.
I mean, that was the Reel-ists podcast.
That's when we brought that idea back. Like the real, you know.
That's when Donnie was like, "We're good. We can leave now. We don't need to see how this ends." I caught something.
Yeah.
I caught two things.
Seriously.
All right. So with that being said, any particular moments that did stand out? Were there any highlights for you that you will give this movie?
I don't know why. It's not even that like big of a thing or anything, but like when it was Thanksgiving and they had their friends over and they had Charlie over and they were talking and Charlie and the friend were kind of butting heads over something and Charlie, he had said something about because he was talking about the house and you guys should knock out this wall and this and that, and Charlie got up with his glass and like hit him over the head with it, but that was just like a thought that he had.
Yeah. They abandoned that very quick. I thought we were gonna get more of that throughout the movie, but
like of him like having these kind of
because they did it twice. They did it once with the painting where all the sound was just based off of like Charlie's focus and like breathing, and then they did that. But after that, they don't really give any Charlie like insight.
Yeah. True. But I did like that moment, you know. And then just even that, I mean, it extended to like Charlie leaving, and then they're all kind of more lax now and you're drinking wine, and the two guys are talking about Charlie, and then they're like, if we go out into the woods, I bet you we'll find him, and I don't know, that whole kind of scene. I when I think back to the movie, I think of that, and then obviously the ending where, you know, it looks like he's hurting Annie, and you know he's like they're like grappling upstairs, and that whole
right
fight to survive thing.
I think for myself the highlight is the secret being revealed that he was living underground. I think that was just because that truly did surprise me. I didn't think that was the case. I just thought he was living in his car or living just nearby, or he killed the neighbors and something twisted as well.
Disturbing too, like when the secret was revealed, it was like it made me go ugh, like this guy's
like
sick.
makes you I mean, if you have a home, kind of makes you just feel like, I hope there's no secret basement over here. I read that a couple months ago. Like this, remember? I think Daniel was telling us about it. So we're talking about it. This guy who was like,
he was like, the food kept disappearing out of the fridge, and he thought that his roommate was like eating all the food. So he set up a video camera in his kitchen, and somebody was living in his attic, and in the middle of the night would come down from the attic and go into the kitchen.
That's scary.
And get all the food.
That's the intruder.
That's how he found out. Oh my God, that just scared me right now. So guys, if you guys are homeowners or living in a home where there's a lot of space, check your attics, check your basements.
This is your public service announcement.
Watch your six. Dot your I's and cross your T's. Like, make sure you're good, because that can happen.
Yeah, it's a very scary thought, and that's why the premise works. Like, the premise is something that...
True.
But
you always say that the scariest movies to you are the ones that can actually happen.
That's true, yeah. And now this one is... I mean, the likelihood that you'll find someone like this crazy may not be that common, but yes, there might be someone that thinks that they can get away and live under you or above you. Mm-hmm. Although I do want to know the history of why did this exist? I mean, obviously he didn't build this like as he was going. It was crafted. It was like set up already. So
yeah,
I'm curious.
It was very premeditated, you know.
Like, yeah, what was it used for? I mean, was there like going to be like a history for it? Was like, you know, because the guy Charlie's been there his entire life, and it's like a family history of this place. So wondering at what point did they create that? Like as a safe place? Was it like during the war? Did they use that as, I mean, there was no war in Napa, but I don't know. Was it like one of those, like if there's an earthquake, go down there, but you wouldn't want to go under, because then I feel like nothing looks stable. That was the thing. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
Questions that I wish they would have answered. But with all that being said, what is your real score?
You know what? I will give it a 2.5.
Nice.
out of 5, because it was entertaining, and it was, I mean, yeah, it was predictable as God only knows, and you know, some of the things were just like, what, but it was entertaining, and I even though I knew it was going to happen, I still wanted to watch it play out. I still wanted to see how these events were going to unfold and where it leaves us ultimately. So it did keep me kind of invested in you know, wanting to watch the next scene and know what was going to happen. And I feel like all the actors did a really good job playing their parts. You know, Dennis Quaid was just, like I said, I've never really seen him play a role like this, so that was fun. And it's going to be interesting if we do go see A Dog's Journey. I don't know how I'm going to feel about watching him in that now that I've seen this.
Run, dog, run!
Yeah, like, no, he's not good. So that'll be interesting, but...
he has like a whole list of other good movies, positive characters.
Yeah, you know, and I obviously, I mean, I always think of The Parent Trap when I think of Dennis Quaid, you know. So
he did a baseball movie too, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
Was it
Angels
like...
in the Outfield? I don't know.
No. Not Million Dollar Arm.
Oh no. Are you thinking of Kevin Costner in that one baseball movie?
No, that was a bad movie. No, the movie title I said was not.
The Rookie?
The Rookie.
That was Dennis Quaid?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay, I'm going to watch it.
I remember.
You watched that?
No, I just remember he did that. It was like one of those things that I would always see on TV and recognize him.
What else have we seen Dennis Quaid in? What else was
he
Dennis
also
Quaid
did
in?
like
Ruben?
You, Me, and something.
You, Me, and Dupree?
No. It was like a lot of children living in the house. I forgot what it was called. It was like You and Me and the House. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's not a lot that we know him from. The Day After Tomorrow. I watched
Oh,
that.
yeah, The Day After Tomorrow.
Ah.
In Hours. That's when Oscar.
Yours, Mine, and Ours. Yes. There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
2005. G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra, Legion. He was in the
Legion,
new Footloose.
The New Footloose.
What Footloose?
Footloose.
What new Footloose though?
The reboot.
Like the remake.
The
When
remake.
did that come out?
A couple years ago.
Oh.
In 2011. 8 years too late.
Yeah. It ain't new anymore.
That was like the last-
Okay. Well, yeah. So you know, 2.5 is what my score is.
Okay. So you're gonna be a little nicer than I am. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Okay.
I felt like just this one, I felt like the premise of the pitch worked, and just the way, like, even that little thing that you talked about that was, you know, that happened in real life, yes, gets your nerves, get the hair standing up, and it gets you scared of your home. If now, do I need to put a camera in my apartment? Do I need to put it,
I mean,
do you want to go check the attic tonight or something? I don't know. Like, it gives you that, that creepy jeeby stuff.
I I do want to say I'm sorry because you're bringing up a heebie-jeebie creepy moment, and this happened. My brother, I just made me think of it. My brother was going to work one morning. It was like 4:00 in the morning.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to hear
I think
this.
maybe I've told you this a while ago.
Maybe,
but I haven't said this to Ruben. But my brother, he walks outside. He gets in his car because he's going to. I think it's like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. He gets in his car. He starts his car and he slowly starts driving off. He looks in his rearview mirror and somebody is sitting in his back seat. This like disheveled looking frizzy haired woman staring at him, and he jumps out of the car and the car is still rolling and he's like, oh my God, like struggling to take his seatbelt off, gets his seatbelt off, gets out of it, like falls out of his car. God. He said like he was so loud, like people were coming out because he was living in this complex. People were coming outside because they were like trying to see what happened. And it was just a homeless woman who was like just trying to find shelter. But he said like, I always think about those moments that's like when you get in your car, look in your back seat. Like when you go home, I look in closets when I get home. Like when I come home, I check my closet. I check your room. I check the spare room just to. You never know.
Dang, I don't.
I don't like look in your guys' closets or anything, but I look in your room. I look in that spare room, and then I look in your bathroom behind the shower. That's just my paranoia. And I've also watched horror films since I was 5 years old, so that's kind of ingrained in me to do that.
Dang, I feel bad. I don't.
It's all right.
You're gonna walk into your room one day and just scream, and be like, "There's someone in there!" Be like, ooh. Was that sound?
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
I heard
but anyways,
something.
sorry, I just wanted to share.
Well,
that
I mean,
story.
there's also the other one with the one, that short film that you talked about. We saw earlier today. Or was it last night?
Yeah, yesterday.
With she thought it was her man,
her husband in the bed, but
sleeping,
it wasn't. Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was some creepy
creature.
That was like fake, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, that in itself, the premise itself, it can easily be sold. Where you're just like, tell me this story. I got to see this story. But I think this movie just had a lot of like things that maybe it was either the wrong choice that they decided to go with, or they just failed to deliver something about it that would stand out. I think it became very too common of this is gonna happen, this friend's gonna die. Now she's gonna believe it, but it's too late. She's gonna either die, they both die, or they both kill him. So it felt a lot too predictable, and I wouldn't say ultimately, like, I walked away. I wasn't concerned about my own home. It wasn't like, all right, maybe I should be careful of my neighbors. Mm-hmm. It was just more of like, that was a movie, and I think that's probably why, because the ones that stick with you, just like it could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like. I mean, let me knock on wood here. I mean, I don't fear that idea, and I think this movie failed to make me fear that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So what scares you? No, I was kidding. What scary stories do you have to tell people? But no, so 2 out of 5 for me, and Ruben hasn't seen it, so
it's a 1.
1 out of 5, which is not too far off apparently. Ruben, you're on par.
Yeah.
you're on percent with
it's a 0.5.
right? It's a 0.5. So yeah, so listeners, let us know what you thought about this movie if you had a chance to see it. And we'd love to hear just what scary stories you have. That'd be awesome.
Ooh.
Yeah. Did you have something like Donnie's brother?
Or have you ever had a home invasion or an intruder situation happen?
Absolutely. We would love to hear those stories.
Mm-hmm.
Those we just got scared now.
It's more common than you think.
Here, I'll give a reaction to someone telling a story and pretend make it sound like I'm listening. No. Oh my gosh. Ah! There you go. You're welcome, everyone. Free audio sound.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Good night. Goodbye.
Whenever you listen to us.
Check behind those doors.
Enjoy the next episode if you're listening to this week. I don't know. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.